the system is set up is that everyone gets a fair shake and that all of the evidence should be turned over. History tells us that when you have an overzealous, conviction-driven person who holds the power to go after the conviction, they're not looking at how it's going to affect the accused. They're not looking at Mr. Coones not being able to celebrate birthdays and see grandbabies. They're looking at promotions.
This isn't a game, and this isn't TV, this is real life. These are real people, and people treat them like throwaways. You take these people and you say, okay, you're guilty of something, I don't care what it is, and you put them in this prison, and then you just forget about them. They're still human beings you're in charge of their lives. People treat animals better than they do people in prison. And when they come out, they don't treat them any better. They just don't.
Hey.
I was 17, sitting in the front seat of the van right next to my dad when the police first showed up and pulled guns on us. Like, I thought we were gonna die. Pointed guns at the back of my head, and then arrested me in front of my school bus.
I remember my mom stumbling out of the police officer's car, just crying and saying they took him. You just I couldn't process, because none of it made sense. None of it made any sense.
I kept telling my family the whole time, don't worry, the system's gonna work.
But Pete Coones was convicted of a double murder he didn't do. Kathleen Schroll wasn't a victim, she was the gunman. It was Kathleen's own gun, and it was found near her body. She had the gunshot powder residue on her hands. There is no evidence Pete Coones was there. In fact, he had an alibi.
They told me that he had murdered those people, and I'm like, he did not. He was on the computer most of the night. I do remember him getting up and going to the bathroom. Mariah and Ross, he talked to them because they were watching a movie. I remember hearing him cough around 4. And then, of course, he got up and got dressed to take the kids to school at 6. So, yeah, I know he was there, and he didn't leave. But, of course, they said that we would lie for him, so they didn't trust us.
A lot of parents and teachers were very weary of me and my family as a whole. And like other parents told their kids they weren't allowed to talk to us, they weren't allowed to talk to me.
We got married after Dad went to prison, obviously. I didn't have a wedding. We eloped. Because I couldn't imagine. I didn't have my dad to walk me down the aisle.
He wanted to be there for his kids. He never once in my entire married life he made me feel beautiful every day. And special. And he had such a big personality.
Okay, here's my prediction. It's Ben's birthday. I'm going to turn this camera back on Sunday night at about 8:30.
So I met Pete while we were doing time in Lansing. So I was a barber, and he needed a haircut. I never seen the guy have a bad day, man. Like, I never seen him have a bad day. By seeing him, man, just being around him, his energy was always good, man. So that's why when he see me, he smiled. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. He's like, hey, Muggs, man. It's like, that's who he always was. Every time I saw him, it was that. You don't know who to trust in that kind of situation. So innocent people don't walk around just talking about their cases in that situation. So I'm sure he kept that close to himself. Like, I didn't know no better. I was just screaming that stuff when I was a kid. Now, knowing that he was going through that as an innocent person, because I didn't know why we was in prison, because we didn't sit down and talk about, hey, Muggs, you're innocent too, I'm innocent, let's get together and talk about it. That never happened. I never told him about what I was going through. He never told me about what he was going through. We was just two people passing by with the same story.
Look at that. Big old dog right there on the screen, right?
How are you, buddy? I can't wait to get to be dead all the time.
They decided he was guilty. They took him into their custody, and then they didn't even take care of him. They just treated him like he was nothing because he had a physical every year, and they x-rayed his lungs every year. So you can't tell me that they didn't know he was sick. They just didn't care. And then they released him without letting us know how sick he really was.
He was a great dad. Dad didn't lose sight of who he was. Dad pushed us not to lose sight of who we were either. We didn't even discuss it. We didn't even know about it until he got out that they offered him a plea deal if he would just admit that he killed them. If he would just admit that he did it. Dad was willing to die in prison. As long as we knew that he was innocent.
So we had him for 2 months. Because I don't count January because the decline was so rapid. And quite frankly, if it hadn't been for Miracle of Innocence, that could have been devastating to us too. Because without them, Jeremiah, Ben, and Melanie couldn't come and be with their dad when he died.
Not only did they fly us down and get us down there to be there for the end with my dad, but it allowed us to stay and support each other. And take some time that we needed because it gave us a chance to just be a family.
After the case was done, I had the opportunity to meet his son. And he shook my hand and he said, thanks. And then he said, anything that I can do to help make this happen for anyone else, let me know. That affected me because he's not a lawyer, he's not a prosecutor, he's a citizen. Situations like this affect everyday citizens all day long. And we need everybody's help to make sure the system is working right. It's not about who gets the glory. It's about making sure that justice is done. And without organizations like Miracle of Innocence, then there are a lot of people. Sadly, I would never get their letter, but they will. And when they do, they have a way of getting my attention.